Welcome back to the Who's Yanks. BMNO the Who's Yanks. We're talking Canada soccer and U.S. soccer. Instead of talking about the Saudi Arabia USA game that just finished up, I'm going to do something a little. This video is going to be dramatically different. As instead of talking about the game individually, I'm just going to do a whole window recap as a whole because this is the final World Cup friendly window or preparation window that we have before the World Cup itself begins. In 54 days, I believe. We are away from that out in Qatar. But because of that, I wanted to talk about the Japan game and the Saudi Arabia game combined. Yes, I already know I did a separate video on the Japan game, but for this one, I believe that it's more crucial to talk about both games as a whole rather than individually. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And first, let me open up to you guys. Tell me in the comments, how do you guys feel about these past two games combined? Excited, nervous, both? I certainly both, a little bit of both. A little bit of excited and a lot of bit of nervous because after today's performance against Saudi Arabia and looking back to against Japan's performance, yeah, there's a lot that has to be tuned up on for the USA. And yes, I know not all the USA main team players were available and played, but at the same time, what do we always say? And around World Cup time, everybody says it: you work with what you have, next man up mentality. And this is what especially in this game, I didn't see the US do. So against in the midfield against Saudi Arabia today, there was obviously no Giannis Musa. He was in the stands watching, but that's one thing I'm going to talk about. And in this video we do talk about the good, bad, ugly. Before I do that, I'm going to try to find the good parts before I start critiquing and bashing the USA over the head with their performance. But yeah, I guess what good do we see from both these games? Well, one good I can obviously tell you is I'm glad we played somewhat quality opponents. Japan is definitely a good opponent to play. And Saudi Arabia, yes, I know they're a little bit weaker, but still, even then, I don't know. They're both World Cup opponents and World Cup. They're in the World Cup, so that's one good thing. But and another good thing is just I'm glad we played them because it exposed everything that the USA needs to improve on dramatically before their World Cup opener and against Wales on the 21st. Lots and lots to work on, which I'll talk about in the bad and ugly sections. But in terms of the good, I'm just happy that we hopefully got a little wake-up call to, if we don't tune up and don't improve in November, then that's what's probably going to come. So that's one thing. That's one good thing you can take about from these September window friendlies. I'm just speechless. I'm just still speechless from both. Especially today's performance against Saudi Arabia. But I'm still trying to find out what goods can we take away from that. Besides, we played World Cup quality opponents or World Cup teams that are in the World Cup, and it showed our weaknesses, and we're improved before. If we don't, then the USA is in trouble. But at the moment, I guess for Greg Berhalter, another good is that, it showed what players can potentially make that final World Cup squad, as this was like a final evaluation period for everybody. But if they haven't shown enough already that they're worthy of being on that plane to Qatar. So that's one. That's right now the only three goods I can take away from this window. In terms of playing style and the performances, as I said, I can't find anything good to take away. If we just, and now I'll talk about moving into kind of the bad or in the ugly areas. So, starting with the Japan performance. As I said, the USA just could not, the midfield especially, could not orchestrate the ball and move the ball with a purpose, unlike Japan did. Japan literally showed us off that game. Literally, no, that's all I can say about it. They just outclassed us, and it just yeah, we just couldn't move the ball around and get, let alone get any shots on frame in that goal, which in that game, which was unacceptable to say the least. But and then moving on to today's Saudi Arabia match, once again the missing presence of Giannis Musa really highlights how important he is to that U.S. midfield, because without him, it's a completely unrecognizable different team. That midfield today was, I mean, they looked all right, but did they even make a difference? Did they help facilitate stuff? Not World Cup, not for World Cup caliber standards. I mean, as the announcer says, yes, they played a little bit better. I mean, maybe because Saudi Arabia, no offense to them, are a little bit of a weaker team than Japan. But then again, I mean, summing up against two Asian opponents, bit of a wake-up call for the USA, because Saudi Arabia will match most likely what an Iranian team will play like, and let alone, obviously, Iran is much better than Saudi Arabia. Get this, Saudi Arabia didn't even play their starting team. They didn't play their A team. I mean, yes, I know the USA also had some players missing, but the Saudi Arabia played their backup keeper, and we barely mustered to get some shots on him on target, and let alone nothing went in the back of the net. But I guess another good thing you could take away just from the game alone was, yeah, the USA got a clean sheet, 0-0, but in the grand scheme of things, how much does that really matter to the performance and World Cup playing style, or the playing style in general that the USA is going to have come World Cup time this November? I'm really good. That's what I'm saying. I'm more concerned, if anything, than excited for this team, especially from just off these two performances. But I just hope that these two performances were just a wake-up call or a hiccup, and come November, I hope everybody is healthy as possible and is ready to play. But come November, the team will look like a totally different U.S. team than what we saw these past two games. Because these two games, it just leaves me, and I'm pretty sure it leaves most USMNT fans and fan bases with an uneasy feeling in their stomach and their gut, as these two games, yes, albeit they're friendlies, but nonetheless, they kind of, hopefully it's not an omen or a foreshadowing to what's going to happen this November. Because if they play like this in November, let's be real, guys, I don't think the USA will get out of their group, because if you can't beat Saudi Arabia, let alone try and barely muster shots on their backup keeper, then how in the world are you going to be able to test Iranians' goalie, let alone their defense and just the whole Iranian team? By the way, every team is every team in the US's group is pretty much around the US's caliber, maybe even better after seeing these two performances. But how are you going to beat Iran if Saudi Arabia, if you can't let alone, we can't trouble there, or you can barely trouble them, and let alone even score on them? And how are you going to beat England? England, albeit yes, they haven't been performing on the world stage as big as they normally do, but they're still going to be really good. And especially when they play the USA, nobody's going to want to lose to the USA, because then, I mean, it'll make them a laughing stock, because the whole, people, as I always say with the USA team, people still hold on to the mantra and the belief that the USA is the laughing stock team of the world, right? And nobody wants to lose to the USA, because it means that or obviously times are changing, but it's just a bad connotation to have with them. So nobody in the USA's group is going to be willing to lose. And of course, Wales is, my God. I mean, we played them back in 2020 during COVID. Gareth Bale is going to be there this time. However, last time he was up in the stands watching. But Wales, they're going to look like a totally different team. Don't forget about Daniel James. Daniel James is going to be there threatening. And that's what I'm saying. The USA, these two games over this September window friendly, exposed a lot. And as I said, one of the main exposures was the midfield. No Giannis Musa, no USMNT midfield, basically, that can move the ball with quality purposes and can at least help set up an attack. Because that's the main issue right there. without a midfield to orchestrate and move the ball around, the USA's attack is pretty much non-existent or it's pretty negligible. But that's what I'm saying. Giannis Musa should he be healthy. He's the big piece to this USA's World Cup qualifying squad. Not World Cup qualifying, but this World Cup squad. But yeah, that this game, especially against Saudi Arabia that I just finished up, really highlighted the importance of Giannis Musa in this USMNT midfield. Going up top to the strikers now. Nobody can put the ball in the back of the net, let alone have they only have a few good chances, but still, a lot of the finishing has to improve, and it has to improve pretty drastically. And Gio Reyna, I heard he got injured again, or he actually got subbed out for precautionary purposes, but he was dealing with some hamstring issues, but poor guy, just can't stay healthy, can he? Gio Reyna, every time I look up, he's always getting injured or something, but it hurts because I know when he's healthy, he can contribute to the USMNT, and he's obviously one of the main five faces of this team. And without a healthy Gio Reyna, of course his injuries have been throwing him off form lately, but he's still a pretty good player. So if that keeps up come World Cup time, I'm afraid he's just gonna have to come off the bench and hope that he does some magic from there. Because starting him, I mean, I don't know if he can go long games yet without injury or without risk of injury. So we just gotta watch, and I just hope he doesn't get injured in these final 2 months leading up to the World Cup. But I don't know. I'm still speechless, guys. I mean, that's just that's just few of the concerns that I have for this USMNT team. The other, of course, was defending in transition, as we saw against Japan. Japan just capitalized, as well as any other team that's probably going to do when they play in the World Cup, against USA USA giveaways and mistakes in the back. And yeah, just looking back to that game, the USA defending and still in transition at times can still rear its ugly head. And that's something that the USA, obviously they're not going to be together again until a week before the World Cup come November 14th. But I don't know what else they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to iron out all these wrinkles and issues, let alone when there's a week up to Qatar. It's just too much to ask for me, honestly. I mean, especially when everybody's going to be going back to their clubs and they won't be able to use this as a unit to rehearse and practice again. So, which is why I kind of wish that the USA would have played, maybe kind of do it, follow like what Mexico's doing. They're playing 2 more friendlies starting November 6th and 9th against other opponents as the World Cup roster is being released around that time. But that's also would have been a perfect time, honestly, in my opinion. Yes, I know injuries are a concern as well, but then again, I really feel that this USA team needs a lot more practice, especially in a lot of areas of concern coming up to the World Cup. But that's what I wish. I mean, they would have played 2 more friendlies against 2 more World Cup caliber opponents. They would have had the chance to really rehearse one last time for not just a week, but at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks out before they played in the big dance. But oh well, we're gonna see how that all works out. But yeah, I mean, that's just a few of the concerns I have for the USA midfield and defense and attack. But let's see what Greg Berhalter does. How is the USA going to figure it out over these 2 weeks, and how are they going to flip the switch? Because they're going to have to turn on a dime, given how they only are going to have a week of camp to basically rehearse and work on this before the World Cup kicks off. It's pretty much, I mean, I'm just stunned. But at the same time, I am still happy that they played these 2 World Cup prep games, because it exposed a lot of things that needs to be worked on before the World Cup actually begins. So, yeah, but as I said earlier, I'm more nervous than excited about the USA going into this World Cup after these 2 performances. But Hey, I mean, as I said, how do you guys feel? Some people have just some. I know some people might look at these two games and say, "Oh yeah, this is what these are for." Just exposing it and just really as a also as a humbling experience. To make sure you don't get too high and make sure you understand what you're gonna face in your group. And some people like me may be concerned and say, "Uh oh, we got a little, quite a little bit to work on before we go into this World Cup, as none of us are quite comfortable yet watching this team go into the World Cup game like this." So I don't know. It's just one of those take it as you will kind of matches because one, I mean, those two games where I can tell you, mm, USA is gonna have to look a whole lot better than that if they want to make some noise in this World Cup. But other than that, that's just I mean, there's a lot of other issues I can nitpick, but just for the sake of the video time, I don't want to make it too long. But in short, the USA has quite a bit to work on, and they're only going to meet together for one last week before the World Cup begins. Don't know what they're going to do in that, but we're going to see. But hopefully in the World Cup, they look like a better team, totally different team, a renewed team, especially trying to avenge after not being there in Russia 2018. But that's all stuff we're going to have to see until November. But you guys let me know in the comments your emotions about these two games combined, or in the World Cup in general. How are you feeling? Are you nervous? Excited? Both, like I am? Um, just tell me your emotions in the comments and tell me what you would want to see the USA really, really clean up come World Cup time. But other than that, that's it. If you like this video, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends about it. The bell notification when any video is uploaded or posted. And tell your friends. I will see you in November.